Hello and welcome to Onesies, a podcast of one season wonders and blunders. My name's Andrew.
My name's Emily.
And we are discussing the 1990 epic Dracula the series. We are on episode 9, Mind Over Matter, which involves psychics. Do you have three things?
Sure.
Or just a sigh, just a disgusted sigh.
I have a question about the opening scene because I couldn't quite hear it, and I didn't even try to put subtitles on. My first thing is roller derby ? And then I want to talk about telepathy and Bunnicula origin story.
Okay. So Bunnicula will not be one of mine. Let's see here. Luxembourgish will be one of mine. Force lightning, and sorry, somebody's making dance moves right now, and it's confusing me. Just I guess Pig Gustav.
Okay.
But that's pretty close to it's in the same thing as our Luxembourgish. Okay, so we open on scenic
Luxembourg,
the La Roche-en-Ardenne Castle, a ruined medieval castle near La Roche-en-Ardenne in the province of Luxembourg, Wallonia, Belgium. I know that because they either say it or there's a sign later, so I was able to Google it.
You Googled it. Good for you.
But it is the kids out biking again on their Goonies.
And they're having a conversation, and maybe it's just the episode, the quality of the episode that we're watching. I mean, the quality of the actual thing that we're watching. I couldn't really understand what they were talking about, but Chris and Max are describing roller derby to Sophie, I think.
I was thinking
except he says, like, it's a bunch of sexy babes roller skating around beating each other up. And I'm not saying that roller derby players are not sexy, but I wouldn't think they would be sexy to a 15, 16-year-old kid.
We've got to remember this is from 1990, so it is entirely possible that the glamorous ladies of wrestling also did roller derby or something like that, right?
Fair enough.
And then Max talks about a tractor pull.
Oh, that was the thing that I missed, the tractor pull.
And Sophie, who's wearing her pajamas out for the day.
No, it's a matching denim outfit. It's a matching denim outfit. I'm not going to comment on how nice it looks or not.
Max has a matching denim outfit later, too. A lot of denim. Is he wearing it during this scene?
He might be.
Yes, he is. He's wearing the jean jacket and jean shorts. Okay, so yes, she can't understand why they watch these things and they call her a silly European girl or whatever. But they've just arrived at this medieval castle, which I assume is the same ruins they shot in before, but a different angle.
Yeah.
And Max is out scouting for vampire hiding places.
Yeah.
Because even though vampires are real, even though they've successfully hunted vampires, they still treat it like after-school playtime.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
And he wanders into this castle, and in the middle of this big empty room, first of all, he's destroying some historical site. He walks in and pushes the wooden door off the hinges, and it falls down. Whatever. Doesn't matter. Seemingly nobody has ever seen these ruins before, or he thinks this is where it jumps off ship right away for me. He thinks that nobody's ever been there before, that nobody's ever seen it before. Clearly, he has just discovered the lair of a vampire. And this coffin is just in the middle of this room, the middle of this big room that is apparently visible from the road that they were riding their bike on, because they just went right over to it. And nobody else has seen this before. Immediately, this doesn't track realistically in my mind. But they have a discussion about who it belongs to, and they think it belongs to Vlad the Impaler, i.e., Dracula.
So the thought of Geordie Johnson as a 15th century warlord is one heck of a thought. But yes, so Max Townsend, fearless vampire hunter, is going to destroy Dracula forever because he's found his resting place. He will be famous. Okay.
And Sophie adds in some lore. Whoever finds Dracula's lair can destroy Dracula with no problems. And yeah, there's a little bit of revelation there with the lore.
For some reason, I don't think it's going to be important, but this episode does have a lot of continuity, it'll turn out. But first, we cut to, I think it's the credits, right? And then we cut to the TV show.
Yeah.
So the TV show is Mind Over Matter with Cleo Cooper. She has on a guest star. The guest star is psychic Lana Zorro, as in Zorro with the Z and a cape. So Lana is there with her husband, Lane Zorro.
I have written down Lana and Lane, blech. It's my only note. Lana is some stereotype out of a 40s musical. I mean, she's essentially what's that character from not Sound of Music, Jesus. From Singing in the Rain. I can't stand it. The one who doesn't make the transition to talkies because she has a terrible speaking voice. She's essentially that character. Maybe a little less, but she's obnoxious. Her husband is going to be on the show with her for some reason.
Yeah.
I guess they have a partnership, and whenever she goes out, he collects the information. You know, he does the cold reads and stuff and collects the information from people attending her shows and gives her magical powers. But there's a little bit of tension between the two of them too.
Yes. And then one of them is complaining the other guest isn't there for the rehearsal, but in walks Gustav with his hair slicked back, looking good. And this is where we establish nobody knows what his last name is. They call him Hessling. Yeah,
this is going to be a running gag throughout the thing. Very not funny. Hessling, they keep
Hensling.
They keep mispronouncing his name. This is something that also runs throughout. He's gotten into a car accident or something on his car broke, and he says what it is, but I don't care. It doesn't really matter. So he's fixed it, but he's been injured. So he's got gunk all over his face, and he's got what looks like 2 shave scars on his face with tissue, which is really gross. And that comes back later too. That's why I wanted to mention it now, because it's even more gross later because it's unnecessary, but continuity, I guess. The psychic and her husband, the psychic is not happy when Uncle Gustav is skeptical of her powers and storms off the stage. Her husband stays to try to make amends. But
leading him to stutter.
Yes.
Which I believe is the second time we've had a stuttering character on the show.
Actor's choice. That's the level of acting we have going on here. And
that's actually what I say about that one movie too.
Ooh, damn.
Zinger.
It's not in the script. It must have been an actor's choice or something developed. Whatever. Okay. Aside. And Helsing is very proud of himself for kind of tearing this woman a new asshole and pissing her off. But he's also pissed off the Miss Cooper, Cleo. Close. By insisting that television makes her look fatter.
What's even
that was so gross.
Well, even before that, she's like clearly taller than him.
Oh, yeah.
And it almost seemed like at the beginning of the scene, she was going to be like coming on to him. or something. She's like, I need to talk to you about, and he's like, you look fat on TV or something. And she's like, never mind. And I was
Yeah,
like,
and
oh God.
she kind of storms away. And he's
Yeah.
like, I meant it as a compliment.
Compliment, because I'm a pig.
What? Okay, boys and girls, if you've never lived in the world and had any interactions with human beings, that is something you don't say to anybody ever. If you can take anything away from the show, it's that you never compliment somebody's looks by telling them they look fatter on TV.
So then we have Lana and Lane arguing some more
in the green room or in the dressing room, whatever.
And she tells him to dig up some dirt on Helsing, and he's like, "You mean Hensling?" But she has a reputation. She needs the help, and he's like, "If you really were psychic, you wouldn't need the help." And she's like, "I just can't turn it on and off, can I?" Okay, so now we cut back to the house where the kids are doing their research, or more like Sophie's doing all the work and the boys are sitting around putting their toys together. All right.
And she has discovered that the last person to visit the castle was a Transylvanian nobleman. I don't know where you find that information. Were there society pages?
In the archive.
Were there society pages back then?
We didn't talk about Luxembourgish. I'm sorry.
Everyone. Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yes. So at the talk show, I was like, okay, it's a talk show on Luxembourg TV. What language do they speak in Luxembourg?
French and German and Dutch.
And what dialect? No, Luxembourgish is a language.
Oh, is it?
According to my quick Googling, but certainly not English. Certainly not Canadian English.
It's funny how everybody speaks English on the show, even though they're in this.
Yeah, we haven't had a single person not speak English. Like, we haven't even had that gag where the kids can't.
You haven't even heard like passersby.
No, they can't afford those microphones. Okay, so yes, so visiting Transylvania royalty or whatever. Sophie wants to tell Uncle Gustav, and the boys are like, "No, we'll do it. We can take care of this. We'll give him the old wooden stake."
Dumb.
And then think Chris says, we get the chance to be real heroes.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun. And Gustav comes down. He's like, "Okay, kids, I'm off to the TV studio. Don't get pregnant, Sophie." He's got his slicked back hair. He's ready to do cool logical debate. Here's the thing, is that Gustav's an old crank who can only exist because of the post-World War II social safety net in Europe. Like, this guy has nothing going for him. It's incredible that he would be on TV to debate anyone.
It's like the Amazing Randy, right? Like, you can't have him on stage with somebody because he'll just annihilate them.
Oh, yes. This is what I was hoping you'd already seen it for, so I could tell you. See you in television land. Cut to Dracula. Luca.
And he's preparing a potion, maybe?
I knew exactly what he was doing. I thought he was cooking for someone. I didn't know it was going to be popcorn. He's putting oil and salt on popcorn, which he can't eat, but does, even though there's no other vampire lore that allows people to eat unless they like throw it up. I don't know about Twilight. You tell me about Twilight. I haven't seen it. What does Jacob do in Twilight?
I don't know what Jacob is. He's not the vampire though, right? Isn't he the werewolf?
I thought he was the vampire. I can't remember anymore. Team Jacob and Team. Yeah, that really worked out for all those people.
I watched the riff tracks, and that wasn't even worth watching. Like, it wasn't even worth watching with riff tracks. They couldn't make it funny.
No. Okay. So we cut to TV. Okay, so yes. Lucard's going to watch TV in his, castle. And we've never seen this room before, but it's like kitchen/living area. He's got a very tasteful, sharper image chair.
Yeah.
But then he's got a shitty CRT TV.
Oh my God.
He has the shittiest, whatever the whatever the I don't know what, like, imagine a big box store, but it's in Canada, and this is the generic TV they sold.
Yeah,
Like,
36 inches. It's about 5 feet off the ground.
and when they do the playback on it, you can see the rest of the frame pause, so they can do the playback. It is atrocious. It's so funny.
Oh my
how
God.
bad it is. Okay. So we get, Cleo talk, I guess is the name of the show. And so he's watching the show. He makes fun of them getting in Helsing's name wrong. He makes fun of the tie that Gustav picked out that the kids like didn't pay any attention to when he put it on.
Right.
We missed that because who gives a shit? Okay, and here's where we get some more of the humor. Gustav is going to refer to everybody by the wrong name too, intentionally.
Intentionally.
We think. But Gustav's also a jackass, so who knows?
I think he does do it intentionally, especially with Cleo, because there's just a pause that's just long enough. You can tell he's trying to think of a different name for Cooper. Like, he calls her Grouper, and Grouper's a fish, which I think is kind of funny. But at the same time, it's like, sir, you insulted her and told her she looks fat on TV. You're giving her an eating disorder. I don't think you also need to mispronounce her name. But
right.
alack and alas.
Okay.
And Miss Lana decides that she's going to test her psychic abilities on Gustav, and she starts telling him things about his life. And it's some of the things we know to be true.
He has a great love for schnitzel.
Well, that was the first thing.
But then he had a severe trauma as a boy. Something happened to his father.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, ooh, what happened to him? Yeah. He has a love for an old girlfriend. And I'm just like, so he's, what, 60% of men, like straight men?
But we know it to be true from the show.
We know it. I forgot about that, actually. But then she brings up his son.
Yeah.
And he goes, stop that. And then Cleo says, do you wish to dispute these statements? And he says, no, please excuse me. And he runs off. And Dracula's like, well, that's bullshit. I barely touched my popcorn. And he zaps the TV off.
Yes.
Okay. So then we cut to the kids getting to the castle. And Sophie's like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, if Dracula, why would Dracula be here at night?
Yeah.
And Max is like, or something about being there during the day. And she's like, that doesn't make any sense because he manages a multi-billion-dollar empire.
Right.
And Max is like, shut up, you're a girl.
We're going to do this.
But then we cut to Cleo, or Lana, psychic Lana, explaining that Lane didn't help her at all. She got all this stuff out of thin air.
Thin air.
But then she gets a psychic message from Dracula, who thanks her for her service. And she has proved her value and power. And he wants her to come to him so she can be part of his family.
And this is the first instance of telepathy on this show. I feel like telepathy is in the Dracula.
It is, but he used his cell phone. Remember with the girlfriend, he just called her. But now he's using telepathy. Clever, I thought, but it would have been more clever if we had seen it being used before. But then I guess it would have given away her psychic powers, right? I was kind of surprised by it. Yeah, sorry. I mean, it makes sense narratively, but it also sort of it betrays the potential of the show that this show really could just be Dracula fucking with Gustav and the kids all the time, and that'd be hilarious.
It would be great.
It never is.
No,
but they don't do that.
No.
Oh God, the fedora.
Oh my God. Yes. I didn't write it down. Oh my God. Yes. I in my mind, it was like, this is Harry Anderson, baby. This kid could play Harry Anderson's kid.
He could. So we're jumping around a little. I don't
Sorry.
think that Sophie was making fun of it. No, I was jumping around. I don't think she was making fun of him in the castle. I think she was making fun of him at home.
I think so too.
Yeah.
They don't go back to the castle until they're on their night shift, right?
Yes.
Or whatever.
Because first it's going to be Max in his fedora and his shorty shorts. And he wants to go do first shift. And when Chris doesn't want him to do it, he's like, I'm a kid. You want me to stay out late? Chris is wearing a very 1990s shirt as well. Like
I didn't notice it.
It's just a very 19. Like I was like, oh God, did I have that? And I was like,
Probably.
well, I was 12 and I wasn't on TV, so it was better. We don't need to talk about 90s fashion. So, especially mine. But we will be talking about my fashion a little bit later in the show today, folks. Oh, yeah. Okay. So, something about first dibs on food when he gets back or something.
He took a piece of cake. So he's using it as an excuse to take first dibs on all the food because I'm going out first. I'm risking my life first.
Okay, let's pause a moment and tell everyone that anecdote about how you were telling me people were talking to you about modern TV and you just didn't have any context for the conversation.
Oh yeah, somebody was talking to me about Ted Lasso and and I had to what I've had to do because I don't watch a lot of popular things. What I've had to do is try to stop myself from being from coming across as being snobby. And so what I've done is just like turned it around and I'm just like, I'm just out of touch. I don't know. So when I responded with, I don't know what that means. And then Andrew suggested that I come up with some Dracula the series references to make in the stead of Ted Lasso or The Office or whatever the fuck people are watching.
Specifically that you tell people that the only shows you watch are ones where you wish the children would be murdered.
Yeah, by one of
like
the other characters.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so then they're like, uh-oh, Gustav sees us. Is he going to stop us? Does he wonder why I'm wearing a fedora and shorty shorts? God, this show is so
I was like half expecting like a magic trick or
well, it's just also fucked up because remember the episode where he was like running around town in his shorty shorts with grown men following him and he was like, this is what I do.
Yeah.
Like what is this show? Okay, but Gustav is too preoccupied because he is quote unquote meditating over his TV experience. And I'm just like, do you mean ruminating? Did they not have thesauruses in Canada in 1990? Like, or not even
maybe not in that writer's room. Maybe not in that writer's room.
But I'm like, you're not meditating, you're moping. Okay, and then Gustav goes, well, it was kind of you kids not to say anything. Now, that means Gustav thought they were watching. Which means he should have come home and said, hey guys, it was really weird that you found out I had a son on TV. It's Klaus. He's locked in a crypt, like we were going to do to your mom. The end. But no, the kids instead.
They lie about having watched it and talk about how great he did.
It went exactly as I predicted. I've never enjoyed anything more, and it was very funny. To which Gustav responds, what a sympathetic bunch.
Yeah.
Okay. Cut to the ruins. Max and his little Walkman.
And his fedora.
And then he's got a comic book he's reading. And this is all location shooting, so it's a different shitty video camera than the rest of the show. So it's like, you thought Alan Eastman was bad at shooting on a set. Alan Eastman's worse shooting on location. But then starts getting dark, which I don't think is going to make any sense, but maybe it does. And he sees a guy in a cape with a torch heading into the room.
Yes.
And so he goes in and, he gets the other two. The other two are there by the time he goes in because they make a joke. Somehow. They make a joke about Dracula sleeping with a nightlight. And then it's time to stake him. but Max doesn't want to do it because he's just a kid. And I'm like,
You want to be Max Vampire Hunter.
Hasn't he directly resulted in the death of a vampire at some point in the show already?
Absolutely. The sexy lady who he was having dates with, or
but she lived in the end.
Did she?
But
oh yeah, no, her boyfriend though. Didn't.
He did. Yeah, he didn't know. No, he lived too because she drove him away in the hearse. Right, that was them.
Oh, I guess.
Whatever. But yes, he's been around a lot of death. He's already scarred. If he wasn't already scarred for being Max is what, like 12? So he was born in in the continuity of the show, he was born in 1978 in Philadelphia as a white cis man. He voted for Trump, just saying it. But he couldn't because he's Canadian. So he voted for, what's his name? Those two fucking idiot brothers who campaign on, I'm gonna do a really bad job and bankrupt Toronto.
Oh, not Stephen Harper.
No, I think one of them looks like Doug Ford, right? Maybe.
I don't know.
Looks like Boris Johnson.
My husband's the Canadian studies guy. He would know.
How can he not be watching this with you then? Because this is,
I don't know. Somehow he.
This is very much about Canadian culture.
Somehow he escapes it. I don't know.
Because they want to be American. So
maybe he's watching it secretly.
Okay. So then, no, not Cleo. Lana comes in. And they go, "Who are you, a vampire?" And she goes, "No, this is the real world. I'm a Hold on, can I do the...
don't even.
Hold on. New Jersey. This is the real world, kids. I'm a psychic. Okay, so theoretically, Gustav knew vampires had telepathy.
Yes.
Which would also mean that people could have it.
Yes.
So why is he so sure she's not a fucking psychic? Especially when, in a few minutes, Dracula is going to imply she consults with prime ministers and presidents.
Because he, I think he doesn't like people using their powers for commercial gain. At some point, That's true. He did complain. He did say that. And so he sees her on TV doing it, and she's just another person trying to make money by cold reading and doing all of these tricks that these people on TV do. But he does say at that point too, like, this is a real thing and it should not be taken lightly. So when I see people doing it, using their powers this way, I don't like it.
Okay. So when do we get to the fucking letter? Okay, in a little bit. But first, she was drawn there.
She keeps cracking jokes about how this is the real world. I'm a psychic. There are no vampires, but I am a psychic. And it's like, okay, we get it.
You ever get something about Mia Kirshner's performance in this one was just like, I fucking hate this so much.
Yeah.
I fucking hate this so much. She ought to do a commentary podcast on this.
I'll reach out to her people.
You should reach out to her people. You're pretty legit this week. You should
throw my mom's name around. My new mom.
Okay. All right. So okay. Okay, Dracula shows up and is like, I don't know, they're explaining what they think's going on. And Dracula's like, "Wrong again, Maximilian. You have a positive genius for getting things wrong." And it's like, good, can you kill him now?
Yeah, no shit.
To which Dracula empties the bag he throws down their backpack because Max and Chris and Sophie left the backpack of vampire hunting tools outside. Because
they're smart.
Because they're smart kids.
And also he explains that he left this particular scene set to distract people.
Yes,
it's all just a distraction.
It's a decoy to snare busybodies.
Yes.
Which is the nicest thing you could call those kids.
Yeah.
It's a decoy to snare reject Goonies. Okay. So then what's her face wants to leave.
Lana.
Lana wants to leave. Dracula doesn't let her leave because he wants a psychic on staff. So this is something the show has sort of forgotten about. We're about to get to some fucking nonsense amount of continuity in a second. But this was actually vaguely interesting at the beginning of the show that Dracula, Lucard, was turning key people into vampires and they would be on his staff.
Yeah.
So he would have the scientists on his staff as vampires, and now he wants a psychic for his staff. This has not been a thing since really the pilot, and then one other episode he turned the Boffin. He turned that other set.
Yeah.
But otherwise it has not really been a thing.
And when you had just mentioned it, he mentions her having consulted with politicians and powerful people, right? So presumably he would use her knowledge, heighten her abilities, and be able to control these politicians and these powerful people to his advantage.
This is 1990, so the presidents
folks.
She would have been consulting with were Ronald Reagan, who had even more mental impairments than usual.
1990? It would have been Bush.
But presidents. He was I mean, Gerald Ford,
previous presidents.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, Reagan and Bush won, and then prime ministers. Oh, maybe not Theresa May. What was the name of that awful one?
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
What's her face?
She doesn't deserve to be mentioned.
Though there's those great memes with the British people talking about how great it is she's fucking dead. Anyway. Celebrate shitty people's deaths, folks. That's what we're saying.
I remember when Reagan died, I was in Chicago. We had a beer and we had a salute and we fucking cheered his death. That was great. Sorry. Outside.
I don't remember when Reagan died.
2003 or 4.
Really? Did he live that long?
Yeah.
Evil never dies, folks. Okay, so then we cut to the house where Gustav is writing a letter to Anna, who previously guest starred.
Yeah.
She was brainwashed by Dracula into betraying him, but now he is writing to her about his big seance. Okay. Cut to the action scene, because this is how we're doing it, because it's Dracula. They tell Chris to stake Dracula, so he runs at him, and Dracula force lightnings him away. But the best part, we get a shot of Chris being thrown back by the force lightning.
Yep.
By thrown back, I mean Chris is running away from the camera, and they drew the force lightning over him. It is very clearly running away from the camera. It's bad even for this show.
Yeah, it's really, really bad.
All right. So now they're like, wait a second. Somebody came in here tonight, though. Dracula, who's in that coffin? And Dracula's like, no one is going to leave this room alive. And I was like, thank God, kill them. Just fucking kill them. Oh, just eat them.
He made you so hopeful.
I just want to watch you take a literal bite out of that kid's neck. Oh, so good. So good. But he's like, no, dude. Like, no, there's nobody in the coffin. But then the coffin opens. So we cut back to the Gustav writing his letter.
Yeah.
Where he's like, how did that fraud know about you, Anna? And how did he know about, or did she know about Klaus, my sweet son? And then he starts writing, Gustav, help! To the ruins.
And there's a cut scene to Lana sort of making her head shake a little bit, and you hear her voice saying these words that Gustav is writing on the paper. So she is using her powers to get him to come.
Yep.
To do automatic writing, which was fucking cool. The only cool thing is that they did a little bit of work about psychic abilities and added something kind of cool. But that's why he had to be writing that long letter.
Yep.
That explains that.
Okay. In the coffin is Lane, dressed up as a vampire. He thought he heard
Looking
his
very
wife's.
much like Canada Joe as his vampire, and kind of acting like it too. He's taking himself a little seriously, but kind of a doofus. And I think it's supposed to be funny, but it just seems like a sketch from fucking Laugh-In. Like, it's this whole interaction between the two of them is just like a scene from Laugh-In or something. Like, it's so bad.
Okay. Oh, we've got a little bit of homophobia coming up here too.
Oh yeah.
But first, he says, "I thought I heard your melodious voice," talking about Lana. So the joke is she's got an annoying New Jersey accent.
And he even hates it.
Yes. So then he explains that last week he was bitten by a vampire. He is no longer going to be her underling. He is now in charge.
Yeah. He's more powerful than everybody in that room.
Yeah.
And Alexandre Lucard takes umbrage with that.
But everybody looks at Lucard when he says he was bitten by a vampire, to which Lucard says, "He's not my type," which is problematic.
But it's not necessarily. You can have a type and not be problematic. He has turned Klaus into a vampire. He has turned other men into vampires and a few women. So I don't know. It's not necessarily problematic.
I don't think Lane is worse looking than that guy in the bow tie from the Bothan.
Yeah, but that he needed him.
Oh, so you're saying that Lucard's he doesn't want any dummies? Is that? But he's taking. All right, fine. Lucard can turn whoever he wants.
Damn right he can.
Okay. All right. So then he's like, they start fanging out and hissing and growling. Or no, they fang out. Dracula growls, and Lane does a little hiss.
Yeah.
And then Dracula picks him up, and Lane goes, "I'm a vampire. You can't kill me." And Lucard goes, "I beg to differ," taking a stake. Now, at this point, I was like, oh, so he is actually a vampire. Like, until this point, there was no reason this guy has to be a vampire. Like,
right.
It could be he's just trying to add some spice to the marriage. But then he's going to transform into a bat.
Ugh.
But he transforms into a bunny rabbit.
Oh, it's so stupid.
To which I assume is where you made your Benicula note as well.
It was actually closer to when they were leaving and saying goodbye to it. And I was like, so this rabbit is now just going to be a vampire rabbit hanging out. But he can transform back. Yeah.
Presumably, or not. Who knows? Also, Benicula was a bad guy. That's another thing to remember. I don't know if that's changed in any of the sequels, but Benicula was a villain.
I have not read Benicula in a very long time. James Howe. Go to your local library.
So then Dracula's like, "Oh, fucking bunny, I'm going to kill you all." And I'm like, thank God. Kill them. But then Gustav comes in with a cross and is able to save the day with a single cross.
Yeah.
And Dracula's like, "Monotonous Mr. Hessling." And it's like, zing.
Yeah.
And then Gustav tells Lana that message received and understood.
They give each other, there's a little bit of mutual admiration going on. And they leave, I guess.
And as they leave, they have a lot to learn from one another. And as they leave, Lana says, "Night, honey bun," to the rabbit. And then Chris and Sophie say night, Lane. And then Max says, "Have a pleasant tomorrow."
So I was a little bit taken aback by the fact that Lana was not more upset that her husband turned into a vampire, and two, that now he was a bunny rabbit. And that she was just happy to just turn and walk away. Who knows how long they've been married, how long they've been together. They had a business together. She doesn't seem bothered at all. I mean, he was a twerp, right? Don't get me wrong. He was a twerp, but she just shrugs her shoulders and walks away. Arm in arm with Gustav, which was also kind of weird, but he's a gentleman. He's a European gentleman who calls women fat.
Okay, so they get back to the house, or we cut to the next scene, and they're talking about why was Lane visible on TV, which I actually hadn't thought of.
I hadn't thought of it either.
But it's okay because the writers didn't either. They just go, well, Lane was really bad at being a vampire, so I'm surprised he didn't get that right either, because that's how it works.
Yeah.
And then they talk about the coffin and how that's a thing that Dracula does. He puts empty coffins all over the world, and it's a way to catch your amateur vampire hunters. And so Max is not a fearless vampire hunter. He's an amateur, and he should have asked
the pro.
The pro. He should have asked Gustav, and it would have been fine.
Yeah, Gustav wins this dick measuring contest.
It's a little kid. I'm shocked that there's not a whiteboard where it's like days I was smarter than a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
But then Max whines, "You wouldn't have let us have any fun." To which Gustav says, "Never go into a situation with incomplete knowledge. That's what I did about Lana, and she was a true psychic." And
that was a pretty good lesson. Pretty good lesson to learn.
Chris says, "I wouldn't like that. How'd you like it if a girl you were dating knew what you were thinking?"
Ugh.
And it's like, okay. And then he goes, "Or if the Phillies would win," which is not the same as mind reading, but he's also an idiot. And
she's a psychic, though. She can predict the future.
And then this is another one of the scenes where Mia Kirshner looks like she's very mad at her parents for getting her into this life.
Yeah. With these, because she knows what Chris is thinking. Because quite frankly, most women know what men are thinking. Because they're not that difficult.
No, I mean, Cleo didn't think Gustav was going to call her fat.
That's true. But was she surprised? She might not have known, but was she surprised?
I mean, considering I thought he was going to be like, "You're a little tall for me."
Whatever.
When does the face thing come back for Gustav? He said it came back.
Oh, yeah. So they're just sitting around eating, and he's got these 2 bloody scabs on his face, not covered by anything, just bloody scabs. And they keep getting like close-up shots of his face, and I'm like, why are you doing that? Like, this doesn't need to be here. He doesn't need to have these scrapes on his face anymore. Just lick them off. Just wipe them away. Get mommy on set to just... It's really, really disgusting. I can't believe you didn't notice it.
I try not to pay too much attention to Alan Eastman's directorial choices.
It was really gross and completely unnecessary. And he didn't have it when he went on TV. So it was there at the beginning with the little pieces of toilet paper. And it was there at the end without the toilet paper, but like dried blood scabs on his face. What the fuck? It was so gross. I don't know. Never let your actors do their own makeup. Maybe that's...
It's also... Wait a second. Maybe Lane was distracted by the sight of blood, and that's why he was stuttering.
Oh, look at you. God, reading way too much into this TV show.
Way too much into this stupid show.
They didn't even think that. The writers didn't think about it.
Okay. So,
but maybe you're right. That would explain the bad choice.
Something would have to, or not. I think that
let's go with it. We'll never see these people again, right?
Okay. So yeah, not a great episode.
Not a great one. No. There's one coming up. It's not next week's, but there's one coming up soon that looks like it's going to be good. So next week's episode is episode 10. It is called A Little Nightmare Music. This has a woman in it that looked familiar to me, but I don't see her on the credits unless it's this Gina Wilkinson. I'm very excited. Sophie looks like she's got a little bit more to do in this one, so hopefully it'll be good. And there's another woman. I'm always happy to see women have roles on television and hope that it's not shitty. It's
also a Renee Bonnier episode, not an Alan Eastman.
Yeah, so that could be good.
So
the last one we had was good of his. So
yes.
Oh. Go ahead.
Speaking of fashion, because I promised I would mention it, The shirts are available on Redbubble.
Yes.
I will include the link is in last week's show notes. I will include them in this week's show notes. I will warn you, if you buy the cheapest variety of shirt, it is not dryable. So yeah, you gotta no tumble dry. So you gotta
air dry it.
Air dry it.
Mine is coming in the mail today as we record. I'm very excited. Andrew's wearing his. Somehow he got his iPad to stop focusing in on the face on the shirt.
That is a little weird. Yes.
Which continued to make me laugh. Yeah, that'll be great. So go buy your shirt, support our show, support Andrew.
Actually, Redbubble doesn't really work that way. But yeah. If we have a membership program, it's not this. But
I don't know.
You should still get a shirt.
You should still get a shirt, walk around with Lucard's face a la Van Gogh on your body.
Yes.
And it will be funny, and you'll get to explain weird things to people.
Yes. Somebody thought it was Mozart because it's Mozart's birthday today. And I'm like, it is not. And I won't get too far into the details. I was like, it's a fake Van Gogh from this old show called Dracula the series. But since you didn't tell Natasha Lyonne to listen to our podcast, I'm not going to tell her.
I'm not going to abuse my motherly relationship with Natasha Lyonne.
Daughterly, actually.
She's my mother.
She has that relationship with you.
Yes. I'm not going to abuse that.
She's sitting around talking about this right now.
I'm not going to abuse that. I'm not going
to have Emily do my show on onesies. That's weird. No.
I'm telling you, if Night Court only lasts one season, we should do the new Night Court reboot because it is something. In fact, I might watch some more of that today if there's more available. Okay, thank you all for listening. Enjoy your week and see you next time when we watch season 1, episode 10, almost halfway through Dracula the series.
What's it called again?
It's called A Little Nightmare Music. All right. Bye.
Bye everyone.